everybody. Hi.
Hey.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to Red Table Talk, one of the few shows on Twitch where literacy is not just accepted but encouraged. It's so great to see all of you here. Before we get started with our class today, I have unfortunate news. Naturally enough, I'm sure you're surprised to see me here. All of you who are enrolled in this course probably were expecting Professor Gunt. It's not easy for me to say this, but once again, he won't be able to attend today's lecture, thankfully. Again, I don't know how helpful this is. Thankfully, he sent in a brief message apologizing for his absence.
Yeah, I'm kind of mad he's not here.
Yeah.
Hello, it's me again, Gunther Crater, or as my students lovingly call me, Crater. It's sort of an honorific. It brings me great pain to once again admit that I won't be able to attend today's lecture. Attentive students may remember that my prized pooch has taken ill as of late. Against the best wishes of his medical staff, I've sent the poor bastard to the same rural farm in Somerset, where the Queen would dispatch her corgis upon cessation of their usefulness. Of course, I'm staying glued to my phone, waiting for updates on his long journey. Don't worry for me, you see. I'm not just going to be sitting by the phone, experiencing idle boredom. I'll be watching television, reruns, in fact, of the British version of Whose Line Is It Anyway, which is, of course, titled, I dare say, that utterance. Who bears the responsibility for proffering it? I hope that you enjoy discussing parts 1 and 2 of the novel Jude the Obscure by Thomas Hardy. Along the way, I have sent over a number of video messages bearing more information, crucial insight in fact, into the nature of the novelle and its constituent parts. So, feel free to trigger a sound alert or something like that to further elucidate the innards of the novel, you see. Quite good. Cut, please.
I can't stand him.
Wow.
I can't fucking stand him.
Yeah, and you're like, he's your brother?
Yeah, he's my brother. It's kind of a parent trap situation.
Right. Where he went off and
we
was
were
raised.
separated at birth, and he went off to the UK. And, yeah. He went off to the UK. We're just very different people. Nonetheless, I've, for one reason or another, agreed to step in for him. Let's just get started, folks. First and foremost, thank you for being here. And, of course, thank you to our esteemed guest this evening. One of the founding papas of Everything Now show, one of the quintessential shows on this platform, Alex Allsup.
Hey, everybody. I bet it's crazy seeing me in this high definition right now.
Yeah, you know what? It's people shouldn't be allowed to see more than a couple pores on any given ENS person's
it should
face.
be all slightly blurred, out of focus a little bit.
Yeah. But here you are, high def. It's great to have you here, and it's great to have all of our students here. And in fact, as you can see, folks, if you want to enroll in this university, you'll have to subscribe. With that in mind, let's take a look at our current subscribers. Let's see.
Damn,
and
C's,
there we
C's
are.
across the board.
Well, it's just that we start every class with C's.
Okay.
And then you can rise and fall through the ranks as the show progresses. But we're going to take a roll here. Laser Lady. And if you're here, just go ahead and type present. Thank you all so much for being here. Okay, folks. Look at all these C's. This is a straight C class. But you out there can change it. Now, there are a number of ways that you can change it if you subscribe at Red Table Talk in the chat and submit an essay, a response to our essay prompt for this evening, which is, of course, what band would fix young Jude and why? Like, Jude would be like, this shit's hitting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you know what's hard is engineering and hosting the show.
Yep.
Kind of a tricky scenario there.
Yeah. I never figured it out.
If you would like to change the essay topic, ideally to something that is related to the book, then you can pay $10 and change the topic.
But it's such a good topic.
It is a really good topic, and I do think that there are a number of really great options out there that deftly respond to this question. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if he's getting on like a Simon and Garfunkel run.
Drake.
Drake.
Something like that.
Listening to one of the Drake monologues when he opens a song and be like, man, shit.
This
This
is really
yeah. Girls do be leaving me like that.
So, Alex, and hi, Behemoth, welcome in. Alex, question for you.
Yep.
Did you do the reading?
I did most of it. I read the first 120 pages of the book.
Well, that's...
I don't know how deep. I don't know how much more it is until part 2's over.
That's very close. But that's great. 120 pages. Out there in the chat, how many of you have read it? Chris, you don't have to read the book next week. Alex just volunteered to read the book, which is, I think, very brave of him.
Yeah. I'm like, for better or worse, a really studious person. I want to be a good student. And it really just like comes at the detriment to myself to just be like, I want the teacher to like me. I want that.
I already like you.
I
Alec.
I want a gun to like me, but
okay. Well, Gunt's not here, so
Yeah.
really he's sort of more or less irrelevant. Clip page. Let's get into the material.
yes,
Okay. Well, I guess before we do that, actually, though,
yeah.
general thoughts on the reading.
General thoughts. Jude. It's a classic tale of should I pursue intellect? Should I pursue knowledge, or should I pursue biddies? And what will lead to fulfillment, and what will lead to acceptance in society?
That is, I think, certainly a major component of the book, in a sense. Biddies, I don't know if we would say biddies. Crocodile asks, can you change this and that? I suppose we can work on that.
This and this?
We can get to this and we can get to that at some point. But folks, let's just get into the presentation. Let's talk the book. The book. I also, again, I think we hopefully we can get into this. I do believe that there is an interpretation of this book, and certainly a way to unpack this material that holds that Hardy, in writing about women, is certainly not the most progressive writer.
Yeah.
This book was published in 1895. At the same time, I do think that there's a way of analyzing the character of Arabella specifically in such a way that makes her a much more nuanced character than even the book is necessarily permitting at face value. Yeah, I think that there's obviously a lot here about class. I think there's a lot here about marriage, certainly, and there's a lot of salience to Hardy's life in that respect.
Was he a cousin lover?
He was not a cousin lover. He was not a cousin lover that we know of.
Yeah. Kind of some George R.R. Martin inspo here, leading to some incestuous relationships.
That feels accurate. That feels accurate. Yeah, Bug with a Gat, that's a perfect example. Jamie Christ Superstar, 15 minutes in and Grant is already doing back bends. Yeah, well, I think that hopefully we get into this. I really feel like there is a lot here on what is ultimately a disagreement between a romantic view of the world and a pragmatic view of the world. And I think that Arabella in the book is a deeply pragmatic character that is taking the hand that she has been dealt by a society that has a very limited role for women, and there's all kinds of evidence for this throughout the book, and she is proceeding in a business-like fashion as a character.
Yeah, let me lock it down.
So here's Jude the Obscure. Let's get into it, folks. Here's an overview of what the class will look like today. We're going to start with a question: why are we reading this fucking shit? And I think that's an important question to answer in all classes. I feel like not enough professors really answer that question. We have a mystery bonus section that I think will be a lot of fun. That'll be a good time. And then we have a multiple choice section. We're going to talk about Tom Hardy a little bit. We're going to talk about, and then we're going to have another multiple choice exam. We're going to talk about part 1 and part 2, and then we're going to get into the end of the class. No, Jakey Chains, you do not have to know how to read a book to participate in this class.
And whenever I pick up this book, I'm saying, "Hey, Jude."
Book with the God is saying that pavement would fix Jude, and I think that there's something to that. We actually do have an essay submitted by Blues Traveler NFT, which we can take a look at now. I also got to say, Alex, at the top of the show, I find a lot of the Christminster material to be so LA coded.
Yeah. Yes.
Really, any major city.
Yeah.
That attracts
people in Lancaster standing on a rock.
Looking off into the distance, the glow of LA in the distance.
The hazy fog.
So here's our first essay of the class from Blues Traveler NFT, responding to the prompt. Due to young Jude receiving the runaround from everyone in his hometown, he should listen to Blues Traveler. But anyway, the hook will bring him back to Christminster.
Yep.
Regarding Stephen, my Jude the Obscure OC, he can blow up the moon. That's a song Blues Traveler did with...
Blues Traveler did a song with 303.
Is that true?
That's crazy.
I'm going to say that is... you're bumped up to a B-. Okay?
Nice.
So, why Jude? Why are we reading this shit?
Yeah, what the fuck?
Okay. You belong to a proud tradition out there, folks. This book is present across 543 different college literature syllabi, and that's via Open Syllabus Analytics, which compiles syllabi submitted from around the world from a number of universities all across the world.
We got sources up in here.
We do, and here's just a few of the syllabi in which this book makes an appearance. It is so often included in courses on 19th century English literature and the novel. That's one reason to include this. Gunt wants to be, he wants to play the hits, so to speak. Assigning this as the first book of a class is actually kind of fucking punk rock.
Whoa.
Because this book is often assigned near the end of the semester because most college professors are scared to assign this and then have to look their classes in the eye over the remainder of the semester. They sort of want to assign this and then skedaddle. Right. They don't really want the heat that comes from assigning this book, but we're brave here. And so,
because we can't look any of you in the eyes.
Because we can't, and you know what? And you can't look us. Well, I guess you can look us in the eyes, but not officially, just via the camera. Another reason why this book is being maybe this was a mistake. It's always possible that this book was assigned and ultimately it was a big mistake to have this be the first book that we're assigning because it's a pretty dark book.
Yeah. There's
no mistaking this book is a big bummer. It's one of the worst vibe setters in history, arguably. But in a way, dovetailing with this previous reason, maybe that's the reason to include it. So that there's no mistaking.
You can only go up from here.
You can only go up from here.
This bummer of a book.
It can only become more chipper, which is, I don't know. We've got Dead Souls on the list. We got a lot of stuff on here we got House of Mirth, which the title is misleading. Here's the thing. I think a lot of the canonized 19th century novels are really quite sad because they're interrogating a social system that is incredibly stratified and intractable. And the characters that become compelling heroes are the ones that buck that system. And inevitably, this system is not a fan of that.
Yeah, and the system was not trying to change at that time.
No. Arguably not trying to change it this time. And isn't that maybe another reason to assign the book? Isn't that something?
Isn't that something?
It's got a lot of silly. Behemoth. Oh, gosh, we should read Pale Fire. I'm a big fan of Nabokov. This is a Nabokov-friendly household here.
I noticed that when I walked in.
Yeah.
Got that vibe.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, there's a number of ways to interpret that. Okay, so that's why. Okay, this is the fun section, folks. I mean, the whole show is fun. The whole show is fun, but this is a particularly fun section. Okay, buckle in. Here's the game. Ready? Who is Eric? Who is Eric? This thrifted copy of Jude the Obscure that I am reading has been inscribed by a man named Eric. He has added his name, and a number of little bits of info here that can be used as a sort of detective work.
Interesting.
You know, my goal, we're going to vote. Which of these Erics should I DM to ask about whether or not that I have their book? Okay, so we have some information here. Eric, it looks like he caught a Delta flight 610, leaving LAX. We have here.
What, he left his...
We can assume perhaps he left his book at LAX, forgot it there, or he just sort of was like, this is the book I'm going to read on this flight, the Delta flight 610 leaving LAX.
Yeah.
But it was purchased.
Or he was the pilot.
This was purchased at a used bookstore in Camarillo. So that can kind of help to inform our decision making here. But we have 6 potential Erics. Okay. And we have just a bit of information about those Erics. I have blurred out their last names so as to prevent anything in the realm of invasive behavior on the part of chat, although I know all of you are up to your best behavior and you would not want to see your grade fall by doing something untoward to any of these Erics, let alone the Eric that we ultimately reach out to. Eric number 1. This is just a picture of Eric. This is his Instagram profile. His username has also been blurred out. A lot of followers. Following more people than he's being followed by.
He's got to watch that ratio. 281 posts. He's posting.
Yeah, he's a poster. He's a certified poster. This is another Eric that was quoted in an article about coronavirus.
Oh.
The governor suggested that sporting events, concerts, and other large events would not resume for several months. It's a strong stance to take, and I am proud of him, said resident Eric Blank. He said he thinks postponing events for the foreseeable future is in everyone's best interest. So this Eric, I think, has pretty reasonable views. Yeah, pretty cool views on COVID.
Okay.
He cares about everyone's health.
So this is a different Eric. This is not... Eric 1 is that guy.
This is a different Eric.
This is Eric 2.
This is a different Eric.
Okay.
Eric number 3 played for a college football team, ECU. He was I believe, what was he? A place kicker?
A place kicker, it looks like, yeah. Number 25.
He was a place kicker, which is cool. Yeah, place kicker. Number 25. You know, maybe number 25 has some significance in Jude the Obscure, and that's why he chose the number. We'll find out at some point. Eric number 4. This is a comment that's been left below an article about an expansion of a parking lot in, I think, Pasadena. You can read this in your own time, but it's a pretty thoughtful message. I think this just sort of is like calling out people reacting too strongly to this parking situation. Eric number 5, founder and producer at a film company.
Okay.
Undisclosed. Okay, so he's creative.
Yeah.
And this is one of the few people who is like Southern California based, and we're positive about that. Eric number 6. He was part of the production department. He was a participant manager for a Swedish documentary called Alt for Sverige.
And what's the log line there? What's the
log line? We can pan over here. The log line is follows Swedish Americans returning from the Olympics. I cut it off. They're returning from the Olympics. It's sort of like a documentary of kind.
Okay.
Eric number 6.
Did Eric leave any like thoughts on the book that might give some insight into his politics?
That is the kind of question that will really help this segment sing. So, and I'm glad you asked that question too, because he has only highlighted notes from the biographical sketch of Thomas Hardy at the back of the book. He highlighted that he played his fiddle for dances in the evening. He also chose to note the period of time when he was turning from verse to fiction.
Okay.
Is sort of his transitional period in his career. He also highlighted a quote from Thomas Hardy in 1882 that is I also quote later in this presentation. So let's put up a poll. Let's see what everybody's thinking.
I'd say, like, I don't know. This book is kind of like what an anti-performative male would be carrying around reading, as opposed to doing like My Year of Rest and Relaxation or some other book that a female might be interested in. They're looking at this book and being like, "Oh shit,
Steer clear.
yeah,
He's
he
scary.
hates women."
Oh no. Oh God. All right. Polls up, folks. Get your votes in. Which Eric should we reach out to about this book? Also, the handwriting. Let the handwriting kind of inform your decision.
Yeah, it's kind of old guy handwriting. I'm kind of leaning for Eric 1, not knowing any of the other ages based on the.
You don't know the ages of the other.
Yeah, I just know. I could just see a picture of Eric 1.
Okay. 24 votes so far. So far, it's looking like it's a
close one.
tie.
It's
It's a
close
tie
one.
between Eric 1 and Eric 6. Okay, we got Eric 1
1.
pulling ahead. I think we're probably gonna. Let's see. Okay. Oh, is it a tie again? No.
No.
Okay. Eric 1. Folks, not only is this a great choice, but it's ultimately the easiest one for me because
Yes.
it's as simple as a
It's
DM
a
on
DM.
Instagram to see if this is the pertinent Eric. Thank you all so much for participating. Join the Red Table Talk Discord to get an update on this adventure in discovering the provenance of a particular used book.
You know he's responding the way he's posting. He's got to be responding.
Get in the Discord, folks, and I will update you as we have a late vote from Rugged Koala too.
So close.
Yeah.
With no votes on Eric 2.
There was not a single vote on
No,
Eric 2.
no.
That's so I would have guessed that it was Eric 2 personally. If I were in your shoes, I would have voted Eric 2. Everybody out there.
It might affect your grades.
It might affect your grades. Well, thankfully this isn't a graded portion. This is just sort of like a fun portion, a silly portion. Getting kind of silly with it. And we have our first multiple choice question of the night. Question 1. Fran Lebowitz, author, raconteur, and the quintessence of New York wit, is forced to play a professional sport for 5 minutes or else God will let the nukes fly. Who can say why God wants this? The son of a gun answers to nobody that we know of.
Mm-hmm.
What sport would the notoriously unathletic Fran stand the best chance of surviving?
Great question.
A, football. B, basketball. C, baseball. Or D, hockey. And there's kind of an obvious answer to this one, but there's also a correct answer. Right?
Yeah.
Here it is. What do you think?
I mean, I think the obvious answer is baseball. It's the least contact heavy sport out of these. But I feel like I would lean basketball.
Okay.
I feel like she's got some street skills.
Uh-huh.
And she's got good smack talk.
I mean, that certainly makes sense.
I wonder if she could scrap in hockey, though.
You know, she's certainly tough.
Yeah.
Like, I would definitely say that Fran Lebowitz, for those of you out there who don't know, Fran Lebowitz takes no shit from anybody. Out on the ice, I think she might struggle. I've never seen her on ice skates.
Yeah.
So it's possible that won't necessarily be
A
terribly
lot of padding. She might overheat.
And see, everybody went with the obvious answer of C,
Yeah.
which also happens to be the correct answer.
That is the correct
Because
answer.
not only would Fran excel at the sport of baseball, in my view, because she has such perceptive sight. Baseball's coming down the plate. She's going to smack that shit out of the park. Maybe it doesn't
Home
get smacked.
run.
Maybe it doesn't get smacked out of the park, but she's going to make contact.
She has contact, yeah.
Yeah. But also, what a delight to have in the bullpen.
Yeah. Huge pep talk.
Pep talk, talking shit about the other team.
Eating seeds.
We love Fran here. Again, I'll just for anyone out there who's on Fran's team, please come on the show. Please, Fran, come on the show.
Get Fran on here.
People feel free to spam the various Fran emotes that are now added to the channel.
She can come on the show and really clear this up for us.
Again, and if you guys don't like the show so far, I have good news for you. The day that Fran comes on the show's over. It's done.
That's the last episode.
It's the last episode of the show. That's when the show ends. So just make that happen, and then you're free. All right, let's talk about Tom Hardy, Tommy Gunn.
Drip
incredible
God.
fit.
Yeah, is he
that
riding a
he's-
scooter? What is that?
It's his. I believe it's a bike. But yes, he's pictured here partaking in his favorite activity, which is frowning.
Yeah, which is mogging crazy.
Mogging crazy. Here we go. Let's talk about Tommy Hardy. Born June 2nd, 1840. Oh my God, birthday month.
Gemini.
Birthday month coming up.
Gemini.
He didn't have the money to study at university, but he read voraciously.
Much
Mind you, anybody?
like Jude.
Mind you, anybody? And this bothered him his whole life. He's in London, rubbing elbows with all of these literary figures, and in the back of his head, he feels unequal. He feels fundamentally like, because he comes from a relatively working class background. They owned some land, but his father was like a stonemason or something to that effect. So he has this kind of chip on his shoulder the entire time that he's in London. He moved to London at 21 to work on the restoration of churches. Ooh, does that remind us of anybody? Interesting. And he's agnostic. He realizes pretty quickly in life that he's not entirely up to speed with this whole God thing. He's not feeling it. He starts writing fiction rather than verse at 27. Moves back to Dorset. He had been a poet primarily up to this point. And after Jude the Obscure, he goes back to poetry because he's so fucking upset that everybody hates this book.
Yeah.
He falls in love with and eventually marries Emma Gifford in 1875. They later become estranged. Troubled marriage? Does that remind us of anybody? She passes in 1912, and it has an effect on his writing, on his poetry. He becomes a poet that's sort of fixated on death, even more so than he already is as a writer now. He was nominated for 25 Nobel Prizes and never won a single fucking one. So here's a question for everybody out there about Thomas Hardy. Is it the case that he is a philosophical pessimist because he looks at the world and he just comes away with this feeling that it's unfair? Or is he just fucking pissed because he never won a goddamn Nobel Prize?
Sometimes you just got to get that award and it will fix everything in your life.
And you can speak to this.
Yeah.
The Peepo
kind
of changed everything.
Yeah. I called my therapist when that happened and said, you're no longer needed here.
Mm-hmm. And I think that that's true for every single ENS person.
Yeah.
Every single member of the team has just basically stopped therapy
because
immediately.
Yeah. And it's only led to good things.
Mm-hmm. Everybody's a better person for it. After Jude is reviled in 1895, he goes back to poetry, as I said. This book causes such a stir in Victorian England that many booksellers sell it in brown paper bags, like to cover up the book, so that people don't feel ashamed as they walk down the street with it.
Like a 40.
Like a 40. Absolutely. So Tommy Hardy.
Yeah.
He was a deeply pessimistic guy, and we don't have a lot of historical material like recorded from the time that he was alive, although he was alive when cameras were around, you'll remember. And this is remarkable, we actually have a clip of Thomas Hardy. He was being interviewed and he was asked, how do you feel about Victorian era morality? And we have this great clip. I think that you guys are going to really dig this. This is Thomas Hardy being interviewed, asked his opinion about the state of the world.
See, their morals, their code, it's a bad joke.
This is, speaking of the 40 that you mentioned, there's this excerpt that is so funny when he's despairing, and this is a funny book. It's very sad, but it's also pretty funny, guys. There's this excerpt where he's talking about, he's thinking about taking his own life, Jude. And he ultimately says, I'm not good enough for that. I don't deserve that. So there's this excerpt where he says, what could he do of a lower kind than self-extermination? What was there less noble, more in keeping with his present degraded position? Well, he could get drunk. Of course, that was it. He had forgotten. Drinking was the regular stereotyped resource of the despairing worthless. What a highly critical view of drinking. Well, get this, guys. There's a Thomas Hardy ale that is being sold right now. It was The label was founded in 1968 to commemorate the renowned English writer Thomas Hardy. Now, this is 1968, so, you know, it's entirely possible these guys just never read one of Hardy's books and said, I like this guy's profile. This profile tells me this is going to be a strong, solid ale. But the irony, are we all picking up on the irony, folks? Is this pretty funny? This is pretty funny.
Did he ever like drink?
You know, what's funny is, you want to know how I found out that this existed?
Yeah.
I was sort of curious about his relationship with alcohol, if he was sort of a teetotaler, because in The Mayor of Casterbridge, the inciting incident of that book is one of the characters gets so drunk that he sells his wife and spends the rest of the novel trying to become a good person, but just can never do it because of this, you know, the sort of the original sin of this character. And so I'm like, surely he has some like very critical view of alcohol.
Yeah.
And this was the first result when I looked it up. I have no idea if he drank or what.
Oh, Tommy.
But this is
Pour one out.
it looks good. Like,
Pour one out
it looks
for
like a
Tommy.
great, look, that's a nice label.
Yeah.
It looks good. Question number 2. Your friend, let's call him Tom,
Okay.
comes to you with a great idea for a novel. He says it's about a guy who gets his shit rocked by fate and who can't catch a goddamn break. What do you say to him? A. Doesn't seem commercially viable, Tom. Are you sure? Maybe something fun and funny might sell better.
Mm-hmm.
Option B. You've got something on your face just above your lip. In this one, you're a guy who's never seen a mustache before.
Oh, okay.
Option C. Wow. Rooting for you, King. You're kind of like checked out. You're on your phone. You're not really listening to him when he says.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Option D. Sounds like something I'd love to read, but will there be polls and sub goals to accompany the reading? All right. Let's put up the poll. So far, everybody's doing really good. I'll say it.
There's also like a social experiment that people have proposed that if you want to find out who your real friends are, you tell them that you're writing a book, and the ones that respond positively are real friends, and the ones who criticize you are not.
Have you ever tried a version of that?
No.
See, one of the things that's interesting about having you on the show, Alex, is you strike me as one of the most contented people I've ever met. You are very zen. And there's a part of me that wonders if this book resonates for you at all as somebody who seems to just sort of like take life as it comes to you. You've achieved a measure of success, a striking measure of success in your chosen field. You seem to be where you want to be.
Yeah, I've been accepted by society as soon as I was born.
Uh-huh.
So nothing really clicked for me on this book.
I mean, I speak, you know, I'm being candid. I do feel this way, but is there a part of you, because you do seem that way. Would you say that you feel that way on a day-to-day basis?
That I feel zen?
Yeah,
That I feel
like
content?
that you feel content.
No, there's always the duck's feet kicking under the water of like,
Wow.
am I actually doing what's right for my time?
Mm.
So yes, it does resonate with me of just like, what is the path that will lead to a life of enlightenment or acceptance?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't figured it out.
It's at the same time, I look at what you guys have built over at Everything Now, and I see a model for the pursuit of art that is entirely you, that is entirely predicated upon your shared values as performers and artists, and you're not really having to answer to anybody meaningfully. That is a really special, unique thing. And it does feel like when I'm around you especially, but the rest of the guys too, I feel like I'm around somebody who's kind of cracked a code.
I'm happy that I can share that with you. I think, you know, maybe if the show made money, maybe if we got another award.
Another Peepo? You know, I often feel like another Peepo would fix me.
Yeah.
And maybe that's part of what's motivating this, is the thought that I could like not make eye contact with QT Cinderella at another event.
That will make you whole.
That will make me whole, I think. You all responded A, and that is unfortunately the correct answer. And it was the answer that ultimately met him when he tried to get this published initially, and then subsequently when it was actually published. This was the general takeaway from his efforts.
I mean, this question is very skewed if you're someone who has never seen a mustache before.
Right. Someone is saying that my eyes are keyed out in a way where it makes your pupils look pure white, which is very threatening. Keep it up. Totally intentional.
Yeah.
Totally by design, meant to throw you off as students, to ensure that all of you feel off balance and uncertain about the way that the class is going. You can't read me.
It's all planned.
Just the book.
It's all tactic.
Here we go. So let's talk through Jude the Obscure. We're just going to kind of talk through a plot summary, and we'll kind of work through it.
Yeah.
So the book opens with Mr. Verlatzen leaving.
Mm-hmm.
This is the only character that we can tell that has ever really shown pronounced kindness to Jude at this early stage in his life. Jude Folly is this young man who has now seemingly been orphaned and taken in by his aunt. We don't quite know the circumstances for his parents' passing other than his father just passed. We don't really know too much about his mother yet.
Yeah.
And he seems unwanted. He seems unloved. And here's this figure, this adult in his life that's kind of almost this father figure, and he departs. And his parting words of wisdom: be kind to animals and birds, and read. Make sure to read lots of books.
Read crazy style.
But Jude is kind to animals, and he gets the fucking
He
brakes
gets,
beaten
like,
off of him.
Yeah. I was imagining him just like being picked up by a leg and like swung around like this by the guy. And just
Yeah. And the clacker, I'd never looked up what that would actually look like back in the day, this noise producing device that's meant to scare off these birds. But he goes back to his aunt, and his aunt is not terribly sympathetic to him. She says, well, why didn't you just go with Verlatzen? Why didn't you leave town? You telling me you tried to let these birds have a little snack? The farmer's not going to like that. The farmer was right to do what he did.
Yeah, to beat your ass.
So to this point in the novel, he has no inborn desire to become a learned person. It's only after this incident that he starts to ask questions about Christminster. He knows that this is where Mr. Verlatzen has gone. He's gone to better himself, to go and study at the university. And I think that this is a really interesting dynamic that's established here, because I think so often, and you tell me if this mirrors your experience. This is interesting to me. So often I think in fiction of any kind, a character's desire almost just feels latent and inborn. They want this thing, and the mechanics of wanting or desiring some end goal is almost beside the point. But I think this book does a really good job of laying out why and how desire, like the desire to become an educated person, arises. And it's because he wants to belong and be liked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of the times it's just, I was born with this innate talent. I was born with this innate wanting, and now I must fulfill God's gift to me.
Mm-hmm.
But he instead was like, hey, this really cool guy said some nice things to me, and now I want to go follow him to the city.
And he just wants to follow him to the city. It's not even, he only learns later, like, well, what do they do there? I know he's going to learn, but like, what's the secret? And somebody says, well, you got to learn all this grammar. And I think it's the what's his name, that fella that is going around selling
The doctor.
What's
quack.
this character's name? This quack of a character, Vilbert.
Vilbert.
Doc Vilbert. Blues Traveler NFT says they do improv there. And isn't that also kind of what's going on? I guess the reason I bring this up, because I'm curious. Obviously, you weren't born with a desire to do online improvisational comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Was there an inciting incident of your life, or a series of inciting incidents that led you to want to perform and be a creative person?
Yeah, up until probably the age of 16, I was very shy and not able to talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had friends, but I wasn't really able to, like, start conversations, or like I would see a person and be like, oh, I'd love to talk to them, but wouldn't know how to really bridge anything there. And in high school, I did this, there was a male beauty pageant called Mr. Horizon, which was this like kind of funny event where a bunch of guys would just like do different talents, and there was like pickup lines and different things. And one of the guys I befriended, who was a senior at the time, was like, you should do this. You should like try it out. And I'm like, okay. He's like, you seem funny. You should try it out. And so I did it. And it was great. I was on stage. It felt awesome. And then afterwards...
did you feel nerves at that time, or was it just...
Oh, yeah. I was so nervous. But the fact that it was like a performance took me out of myself and allowed me to just like show off some of the, I guess, qualities of myself that I didn't know I had. And after that, this guy, Ryan Usher, came up to me at the end and he's like, hey, I run the improv team. You should come audition for the improv team. And so I was like, okay, I don't know what that is. And I went, I auditioned, and I got on the team at the end of my sophomore year, going into my junior year. And then I learned how to talk to people through just being like, oh, well, yes and it, baby. Just like free yourself from whatever inhibitions that you have in your own head. Just like continue whatever this.
So was it that improv allowed you to move through life with a greater degree of that sort of yes and quality, or was it the case that you felt so alive doing improv that you know that other thing, having it sort of dovetail into your actual life or bleed into your actual life and affect your ability to sort of relate to people and talk to people and be present, that was incidental, and the main zhuzh was the act of doing improv itself?
It was kind of twofold because I love doing improv and it really freed myself up, but it does teach you how to be present and to just not be so stuck in your own head all the time, which I was very stuck in my own head. And that doing that repetitively and practicing and being with like-minded people who were doing the same thing got me in a way where I was able to stop caring about those certain things and then kind of realize my full experience.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like I had a very similar experience where it was what drew me to acting was doing this D&D campaign. And I generally have a hard time maintaining eye contact with people. Mm-hmm. And I, like you, I think, you know, my sort of innate self is shy, on the shyer side. And I realized that if I was in character playing the game, I was able to make sustained, meaningful eye contact with my friends, mm-hmm. and where I didn't even have to really be conscious of it.
Yeah.
And it's a simple thing, but sustained eye contact in the context of something like that, where you're all creating something together, is a very special feeling. But again, it just speaks to this sense that, you know, more often than not, despite all of the seemingly disparate desires that any individual person may have compared to another, you know, the desire to participate in something technical, the desire to do something artistic, the desire to achieve something politically, so much of it at its root is this desire to belong to something. And I think that that is one of the tragedies of this novel, is that Jude, you know, is at a certain point becomes so fixated on this achievement in Christminster that he loses all of these opportunities along the way to feel like he belongs to something.
Yeah, and falls into the trap of continued idealization of both people and places. Even with Mr. Flotsam, the tragic re-meeting of him really speaks to how much he hypes up people in his own mind, especially, you know, with most of the characters in this book.
That is a brutal section of the book.
Yeah.
That is harrowing.
Yeah.
When he catches back up with him. I mean, that section of the book I do think is littered with moments that are so real.
Yes.
And I feel like so many of us have had these experiences, but when they're rendered in fiction, you're sort of just, it's very jarring.
Yeah.
So, continuing with the summary of the book, this is when physician Vilbert arrives. He kind of cons this kid out of out of a little bit of labor, a little free labor from a kid, never hurt anybody. He gets it, and Jude, expecting to receive these grammar books in return that he can then study and learn more, and hopefully one day go to Christminster, he's stood up and feels this profound sense of defeat.
Wilbur is giving me such like an NPC in a video game vibe. The way that he describes himself is like, I am always in constant motion and hitting exact spots at certain times of the day. I'm like, oh, he's like the postman in Zelda, where you have to like catch him at a certain moment in order to talk to him.
I love that he's framed in such a way that it speaks to the townspeople, have this absolute understanding about this. Vilbert was an itinerant quack doctor, well known to the rustic population and absolutely unknown to anybody else, as he indeed took care to be, to avoid inconvenient investigations. The second anybody that's not some rural person figures out about this guy, he's in hot water. There's a point where he talks about having these grammars, and says that they were, I'll sell you mine with pleasure. Those I used as a student. One example of something that happens throughout this early portion of the book where somebody gives Jude some opportunity, or there's some thing that's proffered to him, and some piece of information, and peppered in that hint, there's just the slightest hint in that bit of information that this Christminster is not going to work out for you, man.
Yeah.
Like any desire to be a learned person is just not going to work out for you. He meets an older man shortly after this section of the book who, talks a little bit about Christminster, and he's like, oh, I know all kinds of people in there. I know somebody who shines shoes or is like a tailor. Somebody says, oh, all of the children of the washer people there, all the washerwomen, even the children know how to quote Latin.
Yeah.
It just speaks to, look, you're going to show up, you're going to learn what you can, but it's not necessarily going to work out for you.
Yeah.
There's a meet cute. So, folks out there, there's the scene where Arabella throws a piece of pig meat at Jude. Did everybody, or did anybody catch what piece of the pig this is? Do you know what piece of the pig it is?
No. I thought it was just a scrap of meat.
So it is a very specific piece of the pig. And this is, to me, one of the more amusing sections of the book. So she throws the piece of meat, and it strikes him. A glance told him what it was, a piece of flesh, the characteristic part of a barrow pig, which the countrymen used for greasing their boots, as it was useless for any other purpose. A barrow pig is a pig that, for the sake of animal husbandry, has been castrated. She has thrown the severed member of a hog at him, and it has struck him. And it's a very funny sequence. There's also, and this is worth noting, this is a little bit of actual salient educational information, slightly. The first words that she offers to him, her interjection in his sort of reverie, she says, ha ha ha, hoity-toity. And she's interrupting this, he's sort of waxing poetic in his own head about what he's going to read when he gets to Christminster. And he says, the books I've not been able to get a hold of here, I'm going to read Livy, Tacitus, Herodotus, Aeschylus, Sophocles, Aristophanes. She interrupts him, and he continues, Euripides, Plato, Aristotle. Her interruption comes between one of the great Greek comedians in the form of Aristophanes and one of the great Greek dramatists, tragedians, Euripides. This moment of her intervening in his life, of sort of interjecting herself in his goings-on, is a co-mixture of tragedy and comedy.
Wow.
Kind of a fun little bit there, I would say. So, meet cute.
Meet cute.
Jude gets bonked with the horny stick. And Arabella is more practical. Now, we should just get into the Arabella thing, because there is a modern trope, which is utilized with probably less frequency now, but it is a troubling trope, which holds that, there are situations in which a woman will lie about a pregnancy to secure a husband. And this is what Arabella does in the book. And I think that there is absolutely a very loaded association with that particular act in fiction. It's meant as a sort of cudgel against women writ large, as a means of sort of reducing them to figures that have to entrap or trick in order to, find a partner, a long-term partner. But what I'd like to posit, if I may, because I think it's crucial. The language that Hardy uses to describe the character is absolutely misogynistic. It's absolutely misogynistic. But if you actually look at her actions, I think one of the things that's done very early in their courtship is it's described repeatedly as almost like a business venture. Her parents, when they greet him with business-like tones that he's just sort of thrown by. At one point, she's interrupted as she's working with the pigs, and he approaches, and suddenly her countenance changes, and you're made in that moment in the book to sort of associate the work that she's doing with the pig with her relationship with Jude. And I think what it's all kind of pointing toward is what Arabella is, first and foremost, is a practical person.
Yeah.
She's been dealt fundamentally, I think, a bad hand by her society, and that's putting it lightly. In the same way, there's the sequence with the pig, and we can get into the sequence with the pig here. It's brutal, the pig sequence.
Yeah.
But the tension that arises between the two of them is this tension of you're slaughtering this poor pig, and she just says that, well, you're a fool for not understanding how this works. People need to eat. People need to eat. This is a practical solution to a problem. We've got to put food on the table.
Yeah.
And in so doing, we have to do something that's fairly unsavory, right? I think that is the dissonance, and it's ultimately one of the tragedies about Jude specifically, is he's this romantic hero, not in like an actual, love sense, but in the sense of like capital R romantic. The romanticism of the era. Hardy is frequently lumped in, at least in the early goings, with the romantic writers of the period, but he's more of a realist. Jude is like this romantic hero who's been plopped into a very real world, where people are having to make practical choices for survival. You think that she wants to work with pig meat for the rest of her life? It's, she has to do something practical. And moreover, the suggestion to lie is not proffered by her friends. The suggestion to lie is proffered by Vilbert. There's this sequence where she goes to see this doctor, and it's hinted. It's not spelled outright in the book, but what's hinted is that this character, this quack doctor, has more or less encouraged her to just say, hey, these mistakes happen all the time. You can be wrong, but just say that you're pregnant.
I didn't pick that up.
She doesn't outright say that he gave her the idea, but I think that we're meant to read between the lines, because we already know that this is a man who's capable of deceit and lying.
Yeah, it would make sense.
It would make sense. And I think that is certainly maybe what happened. Let's see. This sequence after the pig, where there's this big disagreement over how they're going to handle the pig, and it concludes in the violent slaughter of this animal, which is just, described in gruesome detail.
Yeah.
Concludes with Jude leaving.
Yeah. The meat's spoiled. The butcher does end up showing up right after. It's like, why don't you just wait a couple minutes?
It almost looks as if he's sort of just been watching them do it for a minute.
Yeah.
Not intervening, but just sort of taking it all in at a distance. He goes out, drinks, learns about his family history from his aunt, gets clarity as to the fate of his mother, and
Let me do what Mama did.
Let me do what Mom did. He says, maybe I'll take a dip.
Yeah.
Um,
But then he's like, I can just drink instead.
I can just drink instead. But he comes back home. There's a letter waiting for him. Arabella elects to leave.
Yeah.
And he is sort of trying to do everything according to Hoyle. He's going to give all of his property to her to sell so that she can get started off on the right foot as she goes to, they're going to Australia.
Yeah. Which also, like, the whole Arabella, you know, businesswoman trying to secure this, like, I was kind of confused about her prospects in that when she's, like, looking at Jude and being like, he's the guy that's going to do that for me. Because, like, she knew that he wasn't doing much aside for an apprenticeship at stonemasonry.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I'm wondering...
Well, I think she's taken aback when she realizes just how unprepared he is for the basic facts of working life.
Yeah.
I think that maybe she assumes that this is going to be a better match for her, a more effective match for her than it ends up being.
Yeah, at least he reads.
Maybe that's the thought. Maybe the thought is that he's going off to Christminster to better himself. But then she also seems fairly dismissive of that very early. She's destroying his book. She's saying, well, you're going to, you know, start to actually make a living.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pig grease on the books. You shouldn't get pig grease on books. It's not good for them.
Yeah. Gets them all oily and gross.
But he basically after, and there's that moment where he wanders into the shop and sees that all of his things are being sold, and the shopkeeper, the pawnbroker, it's like, it is a small lot of stuff that was knocked down to me at a cottage sale out on the road to Mary Green. The frame is very useful. He sees a picture of himself in a frame. He's like, yeah, I don't know about this guy. This guy's got it's a weird picture of this guy, but you can use the frame. That's funny. Funny moment.
Yeah. And he goes and burns it.
So
He deletes all the photos of them on Instagram.
Exactly. This section of the book sets us up for part 2, wherein Jude goes to Christminster. He basically resolves to make a move, to take a risk, and that's the end of part 1. Question number 3. You throw a pig's severed member at your crush's head, to flirt.
Obviously.
What's the killer line you follow up with to seal the deal? A,
Cock-a-doodle-doo player.
with a smiley face. Pretty good. Option B, mind if I kiss the pig grease off your cheek, sweetie?
Is that a wink? It's
Little
a
wink.
winky.
Option C, all right, no more dicking around, hee hee. Let's do dinner and a movie. Do you like Barnyard from 2006? That's my favorite movie. David Koechner plays Dan the Coyote.
Really horrifying animation on that movie.
It doesn't look good,
No.
and the TV show looks even worse.
Yeah.
But somebody's a fan of this movie. They're out there, almost certainly. And last option is dealer's choice, but you have to write your own response if you choose option D.
Okay. Fill in the blank here.
Let's put up the poll.
For me,
Yeah, what do you think?
I'm going cock-a-doodle-doo player. It's the most open. It kind of like takes away any sort of direction that may be coming from this kind of action that I just did. So it's like it could go good, it could go bad. Kind of puts you right in the middle there.
It is a roll of the dice. I think really both throwing it and then saying anything as a follow-up is a bit of a roll of the dice,
Yeah.
ultimately. Getting, wow, pretty even split between A and C. Must be a lot of fans of Barnyard out there.
I mean, if they like Barnyard, that's a sure thing then.
Right. And it's
It's a big swing, but high reward.
right. All right, folks. A wins. And good news. That also happens to be the correct answer.
That's what's up. This saying Fooloof is the right answer. Let's see what Fooloof said.
What did Fooloof say?
For one a pork.
Ah, that is really good. Okay, all of you lose the point that you received from the multiple choice. Because that is the correct
That's
answer
the correct
now.
answer.
Yeah, I guess because it's a sort of a free response situation,
Yeah, you left it open for that.
the correct answer could shift and change at a moment's notice. I know this summary is obviously very detailed and effective.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even need to read the book,
No.
frankly.
There's also, for audiobook fans, there's a free audiobook with a man with very nice Irish accent who reads the entire book.
Interesting, an Irish
Free
accent.
on YouTube. But I didn't do that. I used the Internet Archive to pull up a free copy of it, and then I listened to some on the way here.
I think that the free audiobooks can kind of run the gamut. The fact that you're having a good experience with your reader is very
It's
cool.
real. I'm very weird about voices. Like people recommend me podcasts, and if I don't like their voice, I will not listen to it.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah. So I'm very particular with that.
Sure. We're about to reach the portion of the book wherein Jude arrives at Christminster, this city that has been, he's sort of held out for himself as this end goal for a significant portion of his life.
Yeah.
A very tumultuous, significant portion of his life. Alex, it's my understanding you're from Arizona.
Yes.
You moved to LA to go to Chapman?
Yeah, Orange County technically. I went where Chapman is, and then I moved up to LA in 2016 proper.
For those of you out there who have moved to a big city in pursuit of some dream or another, it strikes me that this section of the book and many of the sections which follow will hit quite close to home.
Yeah.
LA feels like it's full of Jude's folly.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
This sense that everybody feels like they're so close. They're enmeshed, fully enmeshed in the environment that they, have as this profound, pronounced desire. And yet there's just sometimes a literal barrier in the form of a wall, in the form of the studio wall, or there's the invisible metaphorical wall, which is almost worse because you're literally the proximity to the thing is so real.
Yeah.
When you first moved out to LA or, in the years since, have you had that sense of the environment, and how have you navigated that feeling?
I feel like everybody who comes to LA has their Jude moment of the disillusionment of LA. I went on a family vacation to Hollywood when I was in 8th grade, and I was like, this is so cool. Walking the Hollywood Walk of Fame, looking at the star, taking pictures on the ground of Hollywood Boulevard next to stars.
Which stars?
I don't even know who it would be. Maybe I don't know if Will Ferrell has a star, but that's who I would be. That's who I would be looking for at that time. Is that type of person? Because that one of the only DVDs I had was the Best of Will Ferrell SNL, along with Austin Powers Goldmember, which I still have not seen any of the other Austin Powers movies. I thought that was the only Austin.
Well, that's
Powers
the best
movie.
one. So you're in the clear.
But once you get here, you are kind of looking at the lampposts that you've seen from afar for so long with such great enchantment, and now they're frowning upon you, which I think is how it's described as Jude, where they look disappointed that it's taken him so long to get here, and you sort of go back down the Hollywood Walk of Fame and look at how disgusting the ground is, and can't even imagine why you, at the ripe age of 13, would ever put your face near the literal human shit that is occupying the streets of Hollywood.
There's also, and I'm sure it's the same way in New York, there's also a section of this early going here where he's there at night. When he arrives, he comes in by foot. And I also love the ceremony that he gives walking up. He refuses to take a cart. He refuses to ride in any other way because he's imagined for so long the act of walking into Christminster. Yeah. So he gets there and he spends the night sort of walking through these courtyards of the university and having this magical experience. And there's something very particular about New York and Los Angeles where if you're there at night, it's one thing, and a very different thing sometimes in the cold light of day.
Yes.
There's a romance, a magic, a mystery to, speaking personally, it's like that's LA.
Yeah.
At night, you'll be driving through LA at night, and you'll feel some presence that's impossible to articulate.
Mm-hmm.
And then, during the day, as you're sort of going about your day, striving, struggling, those things depart. And there's this great section here. Passing out into the streets on this errand, he found that the college had treacherously changed their sympathetic countenances, or the colleges had treacherously changed their sympathetic countenances. Some were pompous. Some had put on the look of family vaults above ground. Something barbaric loomed in the masonries of all. The spirits of the great men had disappeared. So all this magic that had been sort of endemic to that space suddenly just like flies out the window.
Yeah.
Very potent. Why isn't there a Best of Alex Allsup DVD yet? I'm waiting for that as well. A City at Night is a different place. That's very true. Bug with a Gyat. So let's get into now
Part two
of the book. It's 3 years that have passed. Jude has remained studious. He's able to get a job as he's capable of working stone on various restoration projects. He takes those skills to Christminster.
Yes.
He's taking his talents to South Beach, but it's a very different South Beach. He sets up shop in Christminster, and he's already thinking about his cousin.
Yeah, there's like this moment where his aunt's like, yeah, before you, or she doesn't even mention it, but he notices this portrait of her, this beautiful portrait of his cousin. And she's like, don't look at that. Don't touch that.
Let's just jump to one of our quiz questions now. Our last quiz question. So here's question number 4. You receive a letter from your life-altering levels of horny nephew. He asks you earnestly for a picture of his cousin. The one where she looks so beautiful. Please send with great haste. What do you do? Option A, call the fucking police.
Yeah.
Option B, send the portrait but include a note politely asking that he not romantically pursue the aforementioned cousin. Option C, send him a book of Sudoku puzzles or some shit. This guy needs a hobby that isn't reading the Bible.
Yeah.
Option D, ignore the question and write back that you're very glad to hear he's making friends and you know that he's not.
Yeah.
So let's put this poll out here, folks. Terrible that we're just sort of jumping around the day's events, but it is a shocking.
It was, yeah.
I know that maybe
It's crazy that she said. It's crazy that she sent it. I was like, and she's like, please don't do it. Please.
It almost feels vindictive based on what we learn later. Like, it almost just feels like she's fully resigning herself to whatever stupid shit you're about to do. Whatever, it's on you, man.
Yeah.
And it feels obviously so jarring to present sensibilities. It can't be countenanced. Hands-off parenting. She's very hands-off in her parenting. She says at one point, like, it would have been better for him to have died with his father early in the book. And again, this is what pushes him into the...
Yeah, and she's like, wait, why are you such a freak? I did so good with you.
You can't teach this guy anything.
Yeah, what the hell? I told him to die with his father. I told him to go off with this stranger to a new city.
And now he did, and he's asking about his cousin. And at a certain point, you just got to throw your hands up and say, okay, do what you got to do, King. Well, we have a
Nobody's saying B.
We have a runaway answer, and it's C, and it is the correct answer.
Yeah.
I do think that Jude would appreciate Sudoku, crossword puzzles.
Yeah.
Crossword puzzle book.
Oh, yeah.
Word searches. It might be a little beneath him, the act of the word search, but I think that something's got to be done to give this guy a
Or
hobby.
if it was today's day and age, she sends him a PS5. That boy's life is changing.
I go back to the prompt. It's like, if this guy finds one fun band,
Yeah.
if this guy, he listens to Dookie, he listens to Green Day.
Yeah.
you know, what's the, oh God, what's that track?
Basket Case.
Basket Case. Play Jude Basket Case, and he's right as rain. I don't think any of the events of the novel happen. Somebody says that he's not good with numbers. That is possible. Oh, he'd love Wordle.
Yeah.
Wow, he would love Wordle. Yeah, like
She gives him a subscription to the daily games, the New York Times daily games.
That would be a great, yeah. And if this were an email that he sent, like, please send that picture of my cousin that I love so much, and you just reply with a link to like, or like a Minecraft gift card or something.
Yeah. Here's some V-Bucks.
Here's some V-Bucks, V-Bucks, Robux. Yeah, something's got to be done about Jude.
Do you have the time to listen to Jude whine?
And look, there's a pizza party that gets unlocked at 20 subscriptions, and I just gotta say, folks, if you liked that, what you just heard from Alex, then you simply have to get us to this sub goal tonight. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, and that's Caesar to Salad. Did you just read Caesar to Salad's comment?
I sang it.
Caesar to Salad. That's really good. So let's continue with the plot. Jude develops complicated feelings about the city, as I said, where it's like, he loves it, and there's also just something immediately kind of disquieting about it, something a little foreboding. Mm-hmm. He gets a job restoring old stonework. I think that there's a section
that really helps. That really helps him. He was really not looking good there for a second.
He needed it, and there's this section, and it's so, oh God, it's so good. It's where he's talking about how he's got like this stone dust on him as he sees.
Oh yeah, he's lifting the stone, and she's like by his elbow or something.
There's that, but also just he is seeing all these learned people. And as he sees them sort of go about their day, he just sort of is like aware of the fact that he's covered in,
soot.
He's covered in the evidence of his trade, and just is aware of the dissonance. And again, you think back to Hardy going to London at 21, aware that he can't afford like the best education possible, and just hyper aware of like everybody can smell the working class on me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, this guy is simply obsessed with his cousin. But what's curious is he says that the principal barrier to him pursuing his cousin is, well, I'm already married. Not that it's his cousin. That's an incidental. That's a minor incidental.
Yeah,
thing.
He like tacks that on at the end. It's also like the way that Hardy describes this woman too is just kind of horrible again, where he's just like, no woman is beautiful in this book. He's like, oh, she's like small.
Yeah,
she's small, but I wouldn't describe her as beautiful.
What is interesting about Sue, in a way that I think one has to give this character is often like cited among one of the more liberated female protagonists of 19th century literature.
Yeah, I mean, she's against the grain. She's a real free thinker. She's buying statues of things that are not traditional Christian.
Not appropriate. She's wrapping them up because she knows she's going to get judged on the way in. But she's reading Gibbon, Fall and Decline of the Roman Empire. I can't remember the title, but she's reading these history books, and she quotes, or rather reads from, this poem by Swinburne, "Thou hast conquered, O pale Galilean, the world has grown gray from thy breath." This poem by Swinburne is a lamentation of Christianity overtaking paganism. This is not just a sort of progressive take for, a woman of the period, but for anybody of the period to be, I mean, and again, he's sort of giving Sue his own opinions on religion, about the sort of like the dubiousness of a Christian God. And meanwhile, they cut back to Jude, and he's reading Corinthians. It's written here in Latin, but he's reading Corinthians 1:8, which is basically like, there's only Christ. Christ is your dude.
Yeah.
Paraphrasing Corinthians. But a very interesting thing there. But again, the way that he describes women is not at all appropriate. It's very.
It's just like this guy obviously thinks his cousin is beautiful. Why doesn't he say that? He's just like, she's small and she seems to not have the toxic qualities that you find in rural women for the fact that she's like spent time in London.
It's so bad. It's bad, guys. Like yeah. I mean, he's written more sympathetically about women characters in his other novels. Tess of the D'Urbervilles is, he has as his central protagonist, this character Tess, another very liberated woman. He broke ground at that time for writing about a woman who, pursues a relationship out of wedlock. He's writing about this character as an out-and-out hero, which another thing that scandalized the Victorian readership at the time. Obviously, he's not really making as strong a case for himself as a thoughtful writer about women in this book.
I think he got an essay submission.
Oh, beautiful.
A little earlier.
Let's see. We'd love to read a good essay. Yes. And this is interesting. Matt Mitchell, this would be a very effective way of submitting an essay in the Everything Now chat. But unfortunately, I am technologically disadvantaged.
Tywin, are you watching?
If Tywin's out there,
Grant needs the.
This is an SOS from Tywin.
Yeah, Grant needs the sauce.
If you could see what Alex is seeing right now, you'd see just the full extent to which I am like desperate for some ease and technological know-how. And this was, who submitted this again?
Matt Mitchell, I think.
Oh, Matt Mitchell. Awesome. Thank you so much. And there's a series of numbers that follow his name. We want to get those right.
45.
Matt Mitchell, 45. Let's take a look at Matt Mitchell's essay. Jude would find solace, and reinforcement for his terrible life goals from rollicking rhythm and blues of the rock bottom remainders. Are you familiar with this group?
I'm not familiar.
I'm not familiar either, but it makes me want to give that band a listen. Discovering a new band, that's an A. So we get to know Sue, and this is the first section of the book wherein we're let into another character's sort of discrete thoughts and feelings that's not Jude, which is, I think, crucial. Yeah. It kind of signals how prominent Sue will be for the remainder of the book. And signals, I think, Hardy's concern with her as a sort of, not even a foil for Jude, but as sort of like a mirror image of Jude, as somebody eschewing social convention at the time.
Yes.
And again, another character who, we find her in Christminster, sort of forced to live with this person who's monitoring her. Yeah. Monitoring what she has in her room. She's I think, again, her freedoms as a character are limited significantly.
Why don't you like the Gothic paintings I've adorned in your chateau?
Exactly. There's also, I've seen interpretations of her purchasing these statues as being an extension of a sort of, not just admiring the statues, but not for nothing, these are nude statues. And the act of having them in the room suggests perhaps having an ulterior motive. Yeah. Using them for purposes other than just admiring them there in the room. Right.
That's analog porn.
And exactly. She meets the guy selling them and it feels illicit. He's like, images, he's nervous. Yeah. To be selling them out in the street. Yeah. And I believe I read somewhere that the Victorian readership at the time would have, at least some of them would have walked away with the impression that she might have an ulterior motive for having these in the room. Sue is the one to ultimately make the first connection with Jude. Yeah. And it's kind of like, oops, oh no, uh-oh. It's kind of like, oh no.
Oop, what did I get myself into?
Uh-oh. Kind of for both of them. Yeah. It's kind of like, oh. Yeah. But they hit it off. And then they go and reconnect with Philonson, which is, it's brutal.
It's the equivalent of Ricky Bobby talking to his dad about, you said when you ain't first, you're last.
Ricky, I was
high when I said that.
Ricky. That is basically exactly what it is. That is 100% what it is. He's like, I guess I maybe did that. Maybe I sent you a book. And of course, this looms so large for him. And there's this brutal line, and it just, you can hear, I can hear his voice, and it's just horrifying. You can hear Jude expressing this when he finds out. I wonder if he's the same Philotson that I knew. Surely it is impossible. Only a schoolmaster still? He's only a schoolmaster. Do you know his Christian name? Is it Richard? And she says, yes, it is. I've directed books to him, though I've never seen him. And his response is, then he couldn't do it. Exclamation point. It's just, yeah. And then when he finally meets him.
Yeah. And he's like, you told me all of your hopes and dreams to me as a child. And he's like, oh, I thought I was just thinking that type of stuff.
He says, literally, I do dimly recall that incident. It's horrifying. Horrifying. Nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I think Sue makes just one of the observations of the book. When she says, I'm going to leave Christminster. And Jude's response is, why must you leave Christminster? He said regretfully. How can you do otherwise than cling to a city in whose history such men as Newman, Bouzet, Ward, Keble loom so large? And of course, modern readership is like, who the fuck are any of these people?
Yeah.
Who are any of these people? And and she replies, yes, they do. Though, how large do they loom in the history of the world? How much do these people really matter in the grand scheme of things? Pretty brutal.
She cooked.
She also explains that her landlady effectively found the statues in the room and destroyed them.
Yeah.
Pretty brutal. Somebody says, never meet your heroes. And isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Isn't that the truth? Somebody's remembering the COVID month and you say it's an amazing time, but let me tell you something. We were not having an amazing time. If you had fun, let me tell you something. We worked hard to make that and did not always succeed, and we know it. Philotson agrees to hire Sue as an assistant.
Yep.
And we're all pretty sure this is going to go really well for all parties. Jude gets a rude... Oh, this is also just so true to life. How often, right, have you spoken with over... And like right now, things are going really well for you and the guys. And so this is probably not as much of a factor. But like over the preceding years, how often did you like catch up with friends from high school in Arizona? They're like, you're out there doing the LA thing, right? How's that going?
Yeah.
And you're sort of,
oh yeah, it's good. You know, working on this and that. Yeah.
It's good. Yeah, for sure.
Good.
Yeah.
Just
Absolutely.
really good. Yeah.
100%. It's going. Yeah. Bug with the guy. It's going.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was an Onion thing, but it was like men replying to how's it going, saying it's going is suffering profoundly. Like it's the calling card of someone in absolute mortal distress.
Yeah.
Which is very true. But he runs into some friends, and it's just like, oh my God, it's a nightmare. They're asking, hey, what's how's it going? How's it going? Just reading here. Still, the remark was sufficient to withdraw Jude's attention from the imaginative world he had lately inhabited, in which an abstract figure more or less himself was steeping his mind in a sublimation of the arts and sciences, and making his calling an election, sure to a seat in the paradise of the learned. He felt that he wanted a coach, a friend. He was like, he's hoping for somebody, and he starts writing these letters. And the letters, I mean, are... He writes all these letters, and then he finally gets a response, and it comes... He's learned that seemingly Sue and Philotson seem pretty close. Mm-hmm. Pretty rough for him. And also, I mean, there's a pretty significant... I love that his response to, oh no, I can't date my cousin is, but there's an age gap.
Gross.
But there's an age gap.
Ew.
his lamentation when he sees Flotsam with Sue. Yeah, but he's so old. So anyway, he sends these letters out and gets a response that's basically like, quit while you're ahead, brother. The one response he gets is, I hear your employee is a stonemason, probably best to keep that up. And he goes out and hits the town.
Put the fries in the bag, put the stone on the church.
Put the stone on the church. Fix the gargoyle's wings.
Yeah.
And shut up. Yeah, hey buddy, stick to your day job. That's exactly what he gets in response.
Yeah.
And then he gets bullied at the pub for not knowing his Latin. And makes a scene.
Kicked while you're down.
Yeah. Makes a scene, gets fired, goes back home. Who among us has not had to lick their wounds back at home with their aunt? And that concludes part 2 of Jude the Obscure and the reading for the week.
It can only get better from there,
It can only get better. Things can only go uphill. We've already done this question. So now we're moving on to the free response question portion of the evening. And this is a funny question, sort of like a fun little question that's just sort of meant to just sort of be funny and fun. Do you believe that pessimism is a salient worldview? Is it worth entertaining pessimism? Is an outlook on life. Thoughts?
For me?
Yeah.
For me, I think no. I think realism is great. I think if you start dipping into pessimism, it just becomes a kind of vicious cycle that you enter yourself into, and self-fulfilling prophecies and all of this stuff.
Laser Lady says pessimism to a rational and logical degree, which begs the question, what is the rational and logical degree of pessimism? Is it just enough to sort of add just the slightest bit of qualification to one's expectations? This thing might not work out, but at which point it almost stops becoming pessimism, is more just like pragmatism.
Yeah, like a realist in a sense. I think Blues Traveler's right. I think this would be the saving grace of pessimism, is the entertainment that it brings. It's good to be pessimistic if you can turn it into good posts.
And in a way, is not the output of Thomas Hardy as a novelist a series of pretty good posts?
Yeah.
That hit to a varying degree, depending on who you're asking. Laser Lady qualifies the earlier statement. Realism contains the right level of pessimism. That kind of speaks to what we were saying. You got to consider all sides of things, says Bug with a Yacht. Blues Traveler NFT, yeah, good posts.
Wait, scroll up. I think this was a good point.
From Creative Steve?
No, keep going up. You don't get to choose to adopt pessimism. It chooses you. I think that's very real.
Holding Coconut Smile. I think that is absolutely a very good point. That is a very good point. Have we added Holding Coconut Smile to the grades? Good, we have. Oh boy. This text is so small. This text is so small, folks. Let's see. Creative Steve, I don't know what pessimism is just yet. I take it I shall learn from this book. And certainly one can learn a lot about pessimism from this book. I think the world is a very cruel place, and pessimism is simply a reflection of the world we find ourselves in, says BotPup QT. So someone who I think maybe leans more in the direction of pessimism is just a fact. Not even so much like a thing to leaven one's day-to-day outlook with.
Yeah, and I guess there's a difference between a productive pessimist and someone who just wallows in despair. Like, you could say Hardy is more of a productive pessimist in the way that he was able to output his thoughts into meaningful work, as opposed to just not being able to do anything because you're just so stuck in the negative.
Behemoth writes, I think that Jude's worldview is myopic enough that it might more accurately be correlated to solipsism. Do we feel, and I have an opinion on this, do we feel that Jude is a rational actor? Do we think that Jude is making choice? I mean, certainly he makes a series of strong choices. Do we think that there is justification for Jude pursuing his goal of becoming a member of the college, becoming educated, becoming one of the learned members of the Christminster family?
It's just based on such fragmented fantasies, and not really, there's not much rational source there for him to make these decisions upon. So I think no.
The second that he starts to think rationally is when he's called out by his friends, and he starts to kind of do the math, and it's not great math. He says he'd have to work 15 years to save up the money to just sort of pay his way into the college. And yeah, that is a long time, and in the fact that he had never really contemplated that to this point speaks to a kind of naivety about it. Yeah, it's so brutal. Yeah, I'm gonna find the letter again.
And there's nobody in his life that really, up till that point, was like, this is a really bad idea. They're all just like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. Like his aunt's just like, yeah, you should have gone, so I don't have to deal with you, essentially.
There are, crucially, no one is really supportive of his journey. This section I highlighted because I just think it's very strong also, and it speaks to just sort of like, there's a lot in the book about the sort of like contrails of lived experience of your like generational antecedents. Like you're in what seems to be a freshly tilled field, but all of the dirt that is there has borne witness to people loving and lying and dying and rearing families and having these sort of private, discrete dramas. And this is another example of that, where it's, you can sort of feel the ghostly, again, the ghostly contrails of antiquity in this space. Whatever his wetness, whatever his level of drunkenness, his brains were dry enough. He only heard in part the policeman's further remarks, having fallen into thought on what struggling people like himself had stood at that crossway. He's at this crossway in Christminster, and he's like suddenly aware of like, what other struggling people have seen this, whom nobody ever thought of now. It had more history than the oldest college in the city. It was literally teeming, stratified with the shades of human groups who had met there for tragedy, comedy, farce, real enactments of the intensest kind. At Four Ways, men had stood and talked of Napoleon, the loss of America, the execution of King Charles, the burning of the martyrs, the Crusades, the Norman conquest, possibly of the rival of Caesar. It's like, even in that moment, he's able to kind of just recognize, like, I'm not alone in my failure, which is, I guess, some cold comfort. Anyway. And Caesar de Salad. Caesar mentioned. Very cool.
Caesar mentioned. Yeah, just CRC. It speaks to a lot of people in LA as well.
Do you find that there's any comfort in knowing that you belong to a lineage of people who, are out here striving, have fought the good fight and are making inroads? And do you feel yourself to be part of a kind of lineage?
Like in the sense that I belong to a group of people who have tried and failed or tried and succeeded?
Sure.
Yeah, I think there's always got to be a bit of delusion if you want to be out here, unfortunately, and I am very much in that delusion of like, nah, I'm gonna do it different.
But it's not even delusional. You've more or less circumvented the traditional channels by which one advances their career, right? By sort of eschewing the traditional model of
Yeah, and that's why
a
like
career
my
in
biggest
entertainment.
advice to anyone that is trying to do that is don't look at the playbook and try to do the same thing that somebody else did. It's never going to be that. Just go do something that you really enjoy. And it's also like people like to think that they have this foresight into what is going to happen or how things are going to unravel. Like, I'm going to start a comedy show on Twitch and that's going to be a new frontier into whatever. That's not what we were thinking when we started it. We were just like, we're not getting stage time. This is a way to get stage time, and it grew into something. Like, I think there's a lot of problems that arise when people think that they have it all figured out and they planned every step that they take. But sometimes you just have to follow the things that really bring, you know, the joy and the creative fulfillment that you want. And if you're doing that in a way that's kind of creative or thinking outside the box and how to achieve that, it could lead to a lot of success because you're not just going through the normal channels anymore. You're doing something different.
And one wonders what that version of life would look like for Jude. It's entirely possible, as we will continue to read, that this is that possibility is sort of unavailable to him fundamentally.
Yeah.
Last free response question, and then I'll do my level best to harriedly, stressfully update the grades so that people can get a sense of who did well in the class. Free response question 2. Isn't it crazy that this MFer wrote this book and played Bane in the third Batman? Just type yes. Just type yes.
Yes. Bro
Yep.
wrote Far From the Madding Crowd and as Venom.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like in Bronson, he's great in Bronson. Jude would benefit greatly from Liz Phair's exile in Guyville. That's so true. Echoes of his own behavior reflected in the tales of men who complicate Liz's life would help him understand women's interiority, which he is in desperate need of a firmer understanding of. He might learn that he is enough, and he, you know, as he is, he's enough as he is,
Yeah.
and that's a very sound lesson. All he needs to offer is all that stupid old shit like letters and sodas. Let's see, where's the... Is this really entertaining for everybody, just hearing me go, let's see. People saying normal professor stuff. I had my future mother-in-law on the show, and I asked her point blank, like, what do you do when you're sort of stalling for time in front of your class? You know, how do you keep them occupied? And she said, you either got it or you don't. You're noticing, I think, probably the extent to which all of these grades are fairly arbitrary. This is a fittingly depressing end for a hearty stream. Thank you, Steely Pat.
Perfect.
Thank you. And that's so true. Everybody, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you all so much. We'll see you
See
next
ya.
week. Bye, everybody.